Hey guys, I'm a day late again. I'm gonna start just promising that I'm gonna have a video by Sunday night uploaded because Saturdays lately have been like super busy. So it's been really difficult to get any kind of video done. So I'm just gonna promise I'll have it by Sunday night. I'm so sorry, y'all. I'm trying to be more regular. But today I want to talk about seasons of healing. As y'all know, I have taken a month off of work, short term disability, so I can get my head straight because I've been dealing with a lot of stuff that, on top of work and everything else I've got to do, that it's been hard to deal with stuff, and all these emotions are starting to come up. So I've been just, these past 2 weeks alone have been kind of eye opening. Emotions that I have not felt before that are paired with trauma that I thought I had dealt with. I mean, we had dealt with it in therapy, my therapist and I. But I guess I never dealt with the emotions because for so bloody long, I couldn't have any emotions. I couldn't have a bad day. My ex didn't want to hear it. He had compassion for anybody else that had a bad day, just not me. Um, and I was supposed to have compassion for him if he had a bad day, which is every day. So, but he had no compassion for me at all. Um, when I would try to vent to him about a particularly bad day or a tough customer or whatever, he would say, "Well, at least you have a job. There are others that would love to have the problem you have, so they can just say they have a job." And it's like, well, he's not wrong, but it's still my emotions. I'm allowed to have feelings, but with him I wasn't. I remember getting in the truck wanting to vent, and literally within 1 to 2 minutes, 2 minutes being the ultimate tops, he'd shut me down and say all of these things, at least you have a job, or, at least it's over the phone and not in person, or whoever knows. Translation, shut the flip up, I don't want to hear it. He just pretty much said that one time. I was venting about a pretty complicated claim that I was going through with a customer, and a customer didn't like the way it was covered. It was covered towards as policy, and I was explaining this to my ex, and within a minute of doing the back explaining so he'd understand the difficulty I was having, he's like, "I don't want to hear that BS," except he said the word. "I don't want to hear that." It was like, well, I'm just trying to explain to you so you'll understand. No, I don't want to hear it at all. I don't want to hear you complaining, except to use a derogatory word. Man, that hurt like anything. But I didn't say anything. I backpedaled. And I said, you're right. I don't have anything to complain about. I'm sorry. I'm just being a whiner. I had to backpedal real quick because I sensed a fight was starting to come. And after the horrible day I had, the last thing I wanted to deal with was yet another fight between he and I. So I had to swallow back my feelings. So I had swallowed my feelings and suppressed them for so long that I didn't even realize I had emotions associated with this trauma that I didn't deal with. And now they're starting to come up. In fact, past couple of nights I've actually cried going to sleep dealing with past hurts of the cruel things he told me, derogatory things against my weight, how comparing me to his fantasy women, or even women that we know, comparing me to them, saying, why aren't I like them? Yeah, it hurt bad. And now I'm starting to feel those feelings. And of course, at night is when it really happens, because nights were always the worst for us, because that's when he was drunk. And because nights is when I finally start winding down, I'm not busy, I'm relaxing, and then of course that's when my mind says, okay, now we're going to start all these feels. And I want to talk about that because what I've been doing is something that I've not ever done with myself, and that's I've allowed myself to cry. I mean, some people think, well, how can you not? If you're that sad, you're going to cry. Not when you've lived a life of so many years of not being allowed to have your feelings, not being allowed to show emotion that was anything but happy and joyful and rainbows and roses type thing. When you live a life like that for so long, that becomes as automatic as breathing. I mean, it's instinctive. And so now that my body knows that it's safe to express these emotions, oh boy, now they're coming up. They're coming up in like droves. And I don't want to say it's difficult to deal with, but it's definitely not without its challenges. Because, of course, they come up when my brain is thinking something totally different, thinking about I'm driving, or I'm running an errand, or, washing dishes. And something will trigger a memory for one thing, then that'll trigger another, and the next thing you know, it goes to the hurt, and I'm crying. And I want to encourage you, if you're feeling yourself going through this, let yourself cry. Go into a place where you feel safe. If you don't feel comfortable crying in front of people like me, I'm not the most comfortable showing my emotions in front of others. Again, because I wasn't allowed to. It's a vulnerability thing. But allow yourself, when you're in your safe spot, wherever that is, allow yourself to feel. Allow yourself to cry. Allow yourself to get all of that out. Because if you don't, it actually gets worse in the long run. Because you can only push it down for so long before it literally explodes. I've known a person or two that has happened, where the person had past trauma and couldn't deal with it. So the person stuffed it down. Now the person's body and brain are saying, no, guess what? You're going to deal with it now. And that's rough. That is hard. Because when it explodes like that, it's worse. I've had that happen to me within treatment. My therapist and I will be going over a trauma and talking through it and stuff, and then it triggers another memory that's similar but at a different time or whatever. And oh my goodness, my poor therapist, one time I scared him because I was literally in fight or flight mode at that point. He thought he was gonna have to hold me down, but it was because I had suppressed those feelings for so long and those memories, because it was painful to deal with them. And while I was dealing with one thing, my brain was basically saying, oh, by the way, while you're dealing with this, you've got this too. And it's not very pleasant. I dealt with it. Thankfully, it was with my therapist there, so he could talk me down from it. But it was hard. But I'm glad I dealt with it. And now, though taking off a month is, I get some pay, disability pay, which is 60% of my regular pay, which it's an ouch thing, but I'll be able to make do. I had a little bit of cushion, so I'm going to be able to make do. But it's so totally worth it, having to tighten my belt and, be a little financially strapped, because I'm dealing with things head on. I'm just going like a bull in a china closet and going right into that storm. And that has actually helped, because obviously part of me wants to just suppress it and not deal with it, but I'm letting go and letting it come out. And it's helping. The last couple of nights it's been really rough, because past hurts, dealing with him, for all intents and purposes, saying he's no longer interested in me. And realizing that I was just basically being used because he could. I was used as an emotional and physical punching bag, more emotional than physical from 2007 on. But I was used as a punching bag emotionally. I was used as a meal ticket because I was the one with the income the last 3 years of our marriage. And even when he was working before his heart attack, I was still the one making the more money than him. And I'm not saying there's something wrong with that in and of itself. Sometimes that happens. But it's like he wasn't trying to do better for himself or his family or me to help me out. Because I would work 8 hours. Before I got the phone job, I was working at a truck stop on my feet for 8 hours, come home, and have to clean house. Or I would have to clean house next morning because I wouldn't get home until like 11:30 at night. And so I'd have to fix myself something quick to eat because of course there was nothing fixed. Or if there was, there wasn't anything left over for me. And then I'd have to, before going to work at 2:30, I'd have to straighten up the house. And that was frustrating because I'd straighten up the house, go to work, come home, and it was messy. But I kind of digress there. Um, Basically, I was just being used to fulfill whatever need he had, whether it was a meal ticket, a clean house, um, spouse stuff, trying to be delicate. Um, and that's basically what I was. And so I'm dealing with that realization. I mean, I've been realizing it for quite a while now, but I think now it's starting to set in. And man, that hurts. That's like a stab right to the heart. And so dealing with that has been rough. But it's actually freeing. Because for the first time, I've actually felt like I'm healing. I'm not saying I'm there yet. I don't know that I ever will be. But I feel like I've progressed quite a bit. Whereas before people was telling me I've progressed and that they can see the change in me. But I wasn't seeing it. Now I'm actually feeling the change. Because I'm allowing myself to have these feelings. I'm allowing myself to feel the hurt. And it's painful. It is super painful, especially at night. I've been having dreams about vulnerability and about being used. Because I'm thinking that's the biggest hurt. I mean, beating me up and the bruises, that was bad. But that all healed. But the emotional hurt, it's just now starting to be dealt with and starting to heal. And that's the toughest part, is to get through the pain of the feelings and the emotions, not just the trauma itself or the particular incidences, but get through the emotions that are associated with that trauma. That is the roughest of all to deal with, because pain, it's simplistic to say it, but pain hurts. And you don't want to deal with it because it's hard to. Sorry, guys, my son was walking in. No, I'm sorry, I hit the button by mistake. But it's hard to get through all of that pain. That hurts worse than physical, in my opinion. I'm not trying to diminish anybody that has gone through physical abuse, because that's not easy to deal with. It's just, for me, dealing with the emotions wrapped around the abuse that has been super tough. But again, I encourage you because it's so worth it. Because in the end, you are healed, and then you get to the point you don't have to deal with it anymore. I know that there are times I wonder, man, will I ever be finished with all of this? Will I ever not be dealing with things that my ex caused? The answer is maybe not. Maybe years down the road, things will start popping up that you didn't realize were that you never dealt with. But you also know how to deal with it. I'm dealing with the worst parts right now because I'm only a year and a month out. Almost 14 months out. So a lot of this stuff is still fresh and new. But I highly encourage you to deal with it anyway, even though it's scary, and go through that season. Because in the end, if you deal with it now, it's way better than dealing with it then. Dealing with it down the road, a year or two down the road, because then it'll explode. And I've seen what that's like when others have done that. So the best bet is to just deal with it. In addition to feeling used, I've been dealing with the emotions of feeling not wanted. Because I wasn't wanted by him. Not for a very long time. I was just there to be used. I'd have to ask for a hug. I'm a major hugger. And I need hugs. I give hugs freely, and I need hugs. And I'd have to ask for a hug. And I'd have to ask for a kiss. And when I would get the kiss, I could still feel the distance, even within the kiss. And I'm dealing with all of that, and that hurts. But I'm learning that that's not what defines me. And that's not who I am now. In my moments of despair, I often think, will I ever find anybody? To be honest, I'm not even looking. As I've said in previous videos, I would love to know what it's like to have truly been loved. But I'm okay if I'm not going to look. If God wants me to have a man, he'll find me. But I guess it's part of my self-esteem issues that I'm still working on. Because people tell me all the time that I look so much better, that I'm pretty, or whatever. And I'm learning to accept that compliment. But man, it's hard. Because all of these things are playing around in my head. If you're so pretty, then how come you couldn't keep your own husband? If you're, when nobody could have kept him. It was something, it's kind of funny, I think back now. Before we were married, after he had proposed to me, he made the comment that people have been shocked that he's going to get married, because he always said that he would never get married because on his wedding night, his bride is in the bathroom getting ready for their wedding night, and he's out boffing the maid. Well, I always took it as a joke, and he may have even meant it as that, but there was more truth to that than I realized. But I didn't realize it until later years. And so, nobody would have been enough for him. But it's so hard to believe that when you've been told over and over again that you're not enough. But I'm dealing with those feelings, and I'm letting them come up, and I'm letting myself cry. Even if it's in the middle of the day, if I'm home not doing anything, I'll let myself cry. Because in the end, it's healing. And when there's healing, I don't have to deal with that again. At least not as intensely as if it's something brand new coming up. I'll be able to deal with it down the road if that memory comes up and say, yeah, but I'm better off now. Because I am. I'm way better off. I can feel now a freeness. And I know freeness is not a word, but I don't know how else to describe it. I'm lighter emotionally. I don't feel as bogged down. So, in going through that, I am healing. And so, I'm going to wrap this up by just saying that go through the seasons, however your body goes through them. For me, I was dealing with the memories itself, and then now I'm dealing with the feelings. And so allow your body to heal. Though it's hard, as I've said before, healing's not for the faint of heart. But in the end, it's so worth it. Because when you come out on the other side, you're in a much better place. So you guys take care. Be blessed. As always, share these videos. If you're watching for the first time, like my videos, hit subscribe. I'll have a video every week. You guys have a great week and be blessed.